Welcome to my Ulduar 10-man Vezzax guide. This fight is a pretty tricky fight because of the way it needs to be done. You will need to position your raids so that the range group is behind the boss at a distance in order to handle the mechanics. You will also need to make sure at least 4 players are in the range group for Shadow Crash. There is a permanent debuff called Aura of Despair, which prevents natural mana regeneration from nearly all sources, meaning there are a few things that will regen your mana still. This debuff also reduces melee attack speed by 20%. Vezzax will use an ability called Shadow Crash, which will launch a dark orb that will explode on impact with the ground, knocking back anyone who was hit. After landing, there will be a black pool where the Shadow Crash landed. After standing in this pool, you will gain 100% increased damage, 75% reduced healing, and mana costs reduced by 75%. This means that the ranged DPS should stand inside this pool and DPS while the healers stand near them and heal. It is best to wait until the 3rd or 4th Shadow Crash for your ranged DPS to start attacking so that they do not pull aggro early. You actually can't taunt in this fight, so that's quite important. Another thing that the ranged have to pay attention to is an ability called Mark of the Faceless. This debuff will cause the affected player to heal Vezzax with the damage they take, as well as any players near the affected target. The best thing you can do when you get the debuff is run behind your ranged group so that you're even further away from Vezzax, and you'll outrange him and stop healing him. This heal is very important as it can easily bring him to full health if you don't move. As for the melee group, you will need to assign 2 players to handle the interrupts in this fight. They will need to take turns interrupting an ability called Searing Flames, which will cause massive raid damage and reduce armor by 75% for 10 seconds, which can really hurt the tank. Vezzax will also use an ability called Surge of Darkness, which will empower him, increasing his damage by 100% for 10 seconds and reduce his movement speed by 55%. You can use cooldowns to survive this if needed. Throughout the fight, you will see green floating clouds called Saronite Vapors. Once these are destroyed, they will leave a green pool on the ground. If you stand in this pool, you will gain mana at the cost of life. The longer you stand in it, the more stacks you get. The more stacks you have, the more damage you take, which results in more mana gained. This pool can kill you if you are not careful, so pay attention to your stacks. You can either walk out of the pool to stay alive, or remove your stacks and reset the number by just right-clicking them. I also recommend not going any higher than 4 or 5 stacks until you are more comfortable with the debuff. If a Saronite Vapor dies under the boss, you will need to move him to the side so that he is not standing on it. This debuff can kill the tank or melee DPS and is harder to see since they are so close to the boss. The best time to use Bloodlust in this fight is when you get closer to the end of the fight. This is so you can rush through the last of it without worrying about threat. I recommend 30%, but you can do it whenever your group feels comfortable with threat. Keep an eye on your mana, react quickly to the Mark of the Faceless, and interrupt those Searing Flames, and the loot will be yours. Thank you so much for watching my Vezzax guide. I hope it helps, and have a great day!